and welcome to one of our little Merry Christmas episodes. Oh yes, it's Christmas. That's what it is. Definitely Christmas. Well, it is now. We have at least entered Advent. It is December. We're recording this in a sort of Christmassy vibe. Some of us are dressed in a Christmassy fashion. For the listeners at home, listening on the podcast version of this, I'm wearing a Santa's hat, and there are various other vaguely Christmassy adornments available. I'm sadly not wearing my flashy penguin jumper because, unfortunately, it didn't really show up on camera. I could have picked up a penguin, but I didn't. Welcome to this look at a couple of Christmassy bits for Christmas, because it's Christmas, and finding early modern things which sort of talk about Christmas it's actually harder than you'd think. You know, we've done a lot of recording of some nativity stuff and sort of quite po-faced drama, but finding some stuff that's explicitly about Christmas in the way that we think about Christmas is not so easy. So today we are looking at Old Christmas or Good Order from 1533. And that's first up with this wonderful team of readers who are going to be reading various parts in this play. So up first reading Gluttony. Gluttony today will be...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I just noticed that Liza has a halo. If she stands just right.
Reading Riot today will be...
Yes, I am Liza Graham, and I have a halo.
Absolutely. Reading Good Order is...
Hello, I'm Emma Kemp. I'm an actor, and I'm here in London.
And Reading Prayer. Reading Prayer is...
Hello, I'm Sarah Blake, and I'm an actor, writer, and director based in Germany.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton, and I am... No, I'm not. No, I am Father Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Or in this case, Old Christmas. I am obviously far too young to be playing Old Christmas, but I will do something to make that work. So this is a fragment of a play. We've got a date of around 1533. It is from the press of William Rastall. One of those stalwarts of the 1520s and 30s in terms of printing of plays and association with drama. Good connection between the two Rastalls, Father John, who wrote plays and produced them, and son, I think it's that way around, William, who end up on opposite sides of the religious divide that's coming. 1533 is always a bit of a watershed year for questions of religion in England. So it's the fragment is at the end of the play. There's a bit of a précis in available. Broadly speaking, Old Christmas is in charge of our wonderful kingdom, and sadly I've been away and rebellions occurred, and I left everything with Good Order. Good Order was in charge, but Good Order had to run away, you see. So I'm here to help restore Good Order and get rid of all the revelers, Riot and Gluttony that have overtaken Christmas, because that's what happens at Christmas. Is on Christmas Day you start the reveling, and then for 12 days you get more and more raucous, and everything gets more and more out of control, and then on 12th night you pull it all back. You pull it back. That's what you're supposed to do, and that's sort of, you could argue, what this play is going to be all about. So, without further ado, we're going to start reading what remains of the play. It is fragmentary. There are little lacuna that appear, and I'm going to ask people to just say what you see, give it a go, try and make it wonderful and fascinating. I will only pause once at the point where there is a break in the text, and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to take a moment to get into character. Excellent. Feeling that now. And we'll begin Old Christmas or Good Order. Sith you went, have they exercised? Yet was I never thus beguiled.
Sir, there hath been here an unthrifty company. Here was hazarder, here was perjury, and crackis and swearing abominably. And as soon as I came, they did me defy. If I had not fled, I had been slain.
Oh, but this case to me is more fain that these rebels be thus take than a bushel of gold were given for my sake.
Now, good sir, forgive me once now, and I will never more offend.
Nay, do not so, sir. God defend, for I make to God a vow, knave will never amend.
Never amend? Why?
For sith that he was a child young, he hath ever brought up among rioters and unthrifty company. He cannot leave if he should die.
Thou liest, whoreson! In thy head thou hast used so much gluttony, eating and drinking abominably, thou canst not leave it to save thy head. And thou, whoreson, broughtest me first to this perplexity. Therefore, sir, I pray you one thing do. If I be hanged, let him be hanged too.
Oh, marvellous, good sirs, behold, they cannot amend themselves if they would. You may see by their own confession. Oh, what it is a man to accustom himself to riot and unthriftiness, or in youth to be brought up in lewdness, for an evil custom much used will be right hard to be refused. For what thing a child in youth doth exercise, lightly in age he loveth the same guise, and that hath made you, sirs, ye your customs old, ye cannot forsake them, if that ye would. But I promise you, ere I depart hence, ye shall be corrected for your offence. Therefore, good order, show thy best reason, what were for them convenient reason.
Wherefore, I would not have them to die, neither to prison perpetually within this your realm, for you know well, yet might they give unhappy counsel. To such manner people as will come them to visit while they were in prison. Therefore, my mind, if you understand, is for to banish them out of your land, on this pain, that if they come again without ransom or grace, to be slain.
Good order, with all my heart I thank thee. Now, after thy counsel, so shall it be. Proclaim them banished. Proclaim their banishment openly, for them and all their other company. Let's see how well thou can first order it. The order thereof to thee I commit.
Then, sirs, take heed to your judgment. My master Christmas, as here present, proclaimeth you traitors openly, that is to say, riot and gluttony, unthrifty hazarder and perjury, commanding you shortly everyone in all haste to void this region, and whosoever returneth again without any grace, he shall be slain. This is my master's commandment, doubtless, and Jesu preserve his noble highness.
Yet, Master Christmas, one drop of your grace.
No more words, get you hence in haste, for your judgment is given and part.
Alas, gluttony, what shall we then do?
In faith to the newfound land let us go, for in England there is no remedy.
Then, sirs, look ye be gone shortly. Hold, take each of you a cross in his hand. In token you shall be banished, England, and to some haven town get you anon. And at the next passage, look ye be gone.
Oh, sir, yet give us some spending money.
Not so. If you lack, then beg by the way.
Now, sirs, all good fellows, farewell.
And I bequeath you to the devil of hell.
Good order, this thing is well order. Thou art lately to be commended. And there's a little break there in the text before we come to the close. So yeah, how are we feeling about this this close of the action? How this moment of a play that all we've got.
So, is this a 12th Night show, do we think? Because he's banishing Riot, he's banishing all the Christmas partying.
Yeah, it might not be 12th Night, it might be later, it might be more Lent. You know, it's the kind of thing that this isn't about Christmas, really. It's about banishing, you know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's that sort of thing. So it's, in a sense, it's not very Christmassy because,
No.
you know, I don't recall Father Christmas turning up very often and saying, "You are banished for having too much fun, Eric."
Well, for us, it would be like, I mean, the modern equivalent, at least in Cyprus, is that, you know, you sort of end up being, like, you know, gluttony would end up going to the hospital because that's always what happens with people who eat too much at Easter, at least. Yeah, I think it's like sort of accurate, but I don't know whether that would, yeah, that it's probably end of you know the 12th night type thing.
How was Gluttony and Riot for you people?
Well, this play seems to be missing the fun part where we actually establish our characters. So it would have been more fun if I'd got to do any actual rioting. But I was happy to be the representative of those who party too hard.
Yeah, but
I agree.
yeah, which of you tries to sell the other one out? Was there a moment? of that?
I think I tell you to hang him, and also that he led me into this degenerate lifestyle.
See, I love this lack of honor among thieves. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Old Christmas is quite hearty, though, isn't he? Even though he's sort of telling people off, he's still got that kind of ho ho thing. I mean, maybe it was just the way you were performing.
It might be just the way I tell him.
But you know, he's quite sort of fruity, isn't he? The way he's, oh, marvelous, good sirs. I mean, he's quite, yeah. He's got a bit of dash about him. And I did think actually, because I've been looking at the figure of Father Christmas recently, and I thought Good Order was interesting because he's almost like, you know, in many, not so much in Britain, but in many European traditions, you have the figure of Father Christmas, and then you have the side figure who is actually the one with the stick who goes around, you know, beating up the ne'er-do-wells. So you've got like Krampus in parts of Germany, and like Good Order is reminding me a bit of Krampus. Like he's putting a bit of stick about.
Yeah, I was going to say, Good Order, great fun at a party is Good Order.
I know. I was going to say he is the party pooper of this piece. Yeah, he hasn't got quite as much power without Old Christmas. Old Christmas is the figurehead who gives him the leave to do things. So obviously he's been chased away before this, but now Old Christmas is here. He's got his backup. He's got the big man here, so he can say, you know, party's over, you're off.
So basically, he's the neighbor who calls the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're getting banished, banished to the Newfound land.
Were they They weren't already transporting convicts at this point, were they?
I doubt it. Not in anything systematic. It's a bit early for that.
It would
Who
make
knows?
sense, though, wouldn't it?
Well, it's one
Yeah.
for research. I genuinely don't know. But it just that does raise an interesting question about they're banished, and I mean I don't know if they're banished. They say Gluttony says he wants to go to the Newfound land, so maybe it's more that's where he chooses to go, as it's somewhere interesting. Yeah, but I've got to say, just really, you know, Riot begs one drop of your grace, and I Christmas doesn't give it. So you know they've been naughty. They're on the naughty list, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
They've already been spared death, though. So, you know,
True.
Good Order got them off that sentence.
Yeah. So their day's gone pretty well, really, in spite of everything.
And of course, I do deliver a bit of a homily when it's that thing about you know, if you don't teach a child to be good when they're young, they'll grow up in all these bad habits, won't they? So it's feeling a little, you know, spare the rod, spoil the childy, which we've been to before. Okay, so at this point, there's a bit of a lacuna in the text. So I'm just donning my Christmas hat again, you know, get back in character. So it seems like we return to Old Christmas mid homily, I think. 1. If thou feed thyself too greedily, another to eat or to drink beyond measure, or if thou despoil thy meat inordinately, or if thou apparel thy meat too curiously with sauce, or if thou delight thyself in dainties, all these of gluttony be very branches. Jesu, God's Son, the great Master of truth, from the high throne when he descended for our redemption and walked on earth 40 days and nights, no doubt he fasted, neither meat nor drink, that while he tasted. This example proveth this sentence true, that abstinence is a wonderful virtue.
This is true and spoken marvellous well. But yet, sovereigns all, I pray you take heed to me, prayer, and to my good counsel. For he that with me is usually acquainted with God is conversant. This is undoubted. For of prayer, vere definito est nice in Deum mentis elevatio. So prayer is but the elevation of man's inward minds to God on high, and to remember, by way of contemplation, his great goodness, nobleness, and power mighty, and the vanities and vices which we use daily, and his great mercy, therefore to require. This is the true prayer that God doth desire. For that which men call the vocal prayer, as the uttering of words, though it be regarded much before God, yet everywhere to this intent and purpose it is used to cause men's inward minds to be moved to celestial things, that his mind and thought from worldly vanities therefore may be brought. And thou, man, which to contemplation hast brought thy mind, by such prayer vocal, and to God fixed it by such meditation, then art thou come to the thing principal, as the mental prayer which thing above all is chiefly desired of God alway. And this, wise good people, this let time should pray, and all ye sirs that now will take regard to this exhortation, know ye shall in the celestial.
And sadly, that's it. I mean, to be fair, it's probably pretty much the last line of the play. Yes, prayer there, doing the final prayer, and we can assume Old Christmas there, explaining why you shouldn't be greedy. Don't be greedy. Bad.
It's not just greed. It's enjoying things too much and what is it? Adorning your meat curiously, appareling your meat curiously with sauce. Like, if you put too many flavors in the thing, it's degenerate, and too much ketchup, bad.
For Jesus, he fasted in the wilderness.
Yes, he did not have ketchup.
Poor guy.
Yeah, just think, no brown sauce, no nothing.
I'm going straight to hell.
Yeah. Bit of a stick in the mud there. But that's Christmas for you. That's or I say, in that sense, this play is really not a Christmas play. It's post Christmas. This is stop having fun. This is the day you take the Christmas tree down.
Well, it reminds me actually of the annual Christmas culture war between people who want a religiosity of observance and people who want the sort of secular party type holiday. And usually it sort of boils down to having deadly fights about it saying the wrong thing on Starbucks cups or something.
Absolutely.
You're probably going to hell. I'm surprised that Starbucks wasn't on that list of things that will send you to hell. If you have too much flavored syrup in your latte,
yes.
definite hell.
Yeah. Whichever Christmas variation they have this year. Ooh, no, just plain coffee. No milk. No
milk, no sugar, no nothing.
No froth.
Although it's kind of ironic because the whole thing is like a warning, and this line was very much said as a warning. But I do think there's a t-shirt line to be had from delight thyself in dainties. And he's actually warning against delighting thyself in dainties. But if you just take it on its own.
Take the negative off.
Yes, I think delight thyself in dainties. I'd
apparel thy meats curiously.
Yes.
Curiously with sauce.
At least it's safe.
Yeah, it's a relatively simple text, but there does have these little moments of just actually, there's some little nice bits in the writing that I quite like. It's one of these things of what does one do with a fragment, and how does one piece this into something, and I keep coming back to fragments because they interest me as a problem to be solved. We know how the play ends. We have an outline of the plot. We could improvise.
Yeah.
As Liza was saying, the fun part of Riot and Gluttony. And for once, we can have a morality play where Riot and Gluttony and all the vice characters don't immediately go to a sex worker. Could we just have that happen for once?
Just one time.
Emma's looking very scared. Basically,
Did I miss a reference?
In so many of these morality plays, there's a woman representing moral looseness or moral degeneracy, and the character is usually implied to be a sex worker, and they usually corrupt our virtuous young protagonist in various ways. And honestly, some of them have really good jokes. Like, some of them have the best lines.
Oh yeah. They're a mixed bag, but it does seem to be that is the plot, is that when men, and it's always men, turn away from the path of virtue, they get drunk, and then they go to a sex worker, and it's almost always that's what in that order.
Okay.
In all of these plays, and it's just, it would be nice if we did something where that didn't happen.
Well, to be fair, we did do Mary Magdalene, where she gets corrupted by becoming a sex worker. Variations on a theme.
A variation on the theme, yeah.
The other thing you could do with this, though, if you were improvising, is you could actually change the ending, because I'd like to see the version where, Prayer and Good Order and Old Christmas, they shoo everybody off and they're like, oh yeah, bad, off you go, whoa, off to the Newfoundland, whoa, wherever. And then they kind of sit down and they, pull out their leg of mutton and their goblet of wine, and they're like, right, they've all gone, more for us.
Well, I was thinking more if Old Christmas and Good Order sit down to have a nibble of their charcoal biscuit and their thing, whereas Gluttony and Riot are on the party boat.
Yes.
As they
Very
go,
much so.
just having a whale old time, just going, yeah, actually this was quite good. Yeah, we're bugging off somewhere else.
Why didn't we do this sooner? Yeah.
And all the audience are like, I want to go with them.
If it was a Twelfth Night play, Twelfth Night is an interesting sort of ritual, because it's sort of, how do you adjust from being on holiday to it not being the holidays anymore?
That is a problem we are still grappling with to this day.
Well, to be fair, we are the struggle we may be having is getting into a holiday spirit before we come out of the holiday spirit.
I'm there already.
I was just wondering about what was being brought up here in Prayer's final speech, because I remember there's a debate, I'm not a historian, so I don't know exactly when it was, but about how it's better to pray out loud than to pray in your head. Is that what Prayer's talking about?
Wasn't she talking about the reverse?
The true prayer that God doth desire, for that which men call vocal prayer, as the uttering of words, though it be regarded much before God.
Yeah.
Yet elsewhere to this intended purpose is used to cause man's inward minds to be moved.
And then later on, she says, as the mental prayer which thing above all is chiefly desired of God always.
Oh, right. So prayer's on the side of
I think she's on the side of, like silent prayer, in spite of the fact that she goes on at length about it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, at the beginning of the speech, prayer is but the elevation of men's inward minds to God on high, and to remember by way of contemplation, this is the true prayer that God doth desire. So yeah, you're right, Emma. It does seem that prayer is exhorting us to pray inwardly at all times, but not to burst out the Hail Mary in the middle of Tesco or whatever.
Yeah, I think that it's a really interesting theological point to be trying to put out there, and especially at this particular point in history as well.
Yeah.
These debates might be having real world consequences, and that interests me. I don't know what the division on that in terms of evangelical and more traditional Catholic practices is. It's not really my wheelhouse, but that interests. That's an interesting thing. Yeah.
Well, I guess also like after the holidays, you kind of have this thing of sort of becoming more drawn in. You sort of have to retreat from the world and go back to work or whatever it is. So it's kind of, and like words can lie, because this is a play, so you'd kind of expect that they use words to lie to each other. So maybe that's the kind of element that they're going for.
Yeah.
Also, I was thinking that it would be fun if you use this as the beginning of a play rather than the end, and then you just write the play around it.
Yes, I feel a competition coming. There's, we've got about a dozen of these. I mean, this is 132 lines. That's all we've got of a play. And I just really like. Don't forget the fragments, because they do fill in gaps about how we think plays function. So yeah, it's that thing of move inward, have less stuff, less enjoyable things. Lent's coming, gives things up. The weather's miserable.
Resolutions.
Go down the bottom of the garden and eat worms.
Yeah.
No, don't eat worms.
Don't eat worms. No, don't.
Too indulgent.
We, as a podcast, do not recommend that our listeners eat worms. Please do not do that.
Yeah, also if you put too much sauce on them, you're probably going to hell.
Yeah. That would be really curious sauce indeed. And on that note, we will close the book on Old Christmas or Good Order, because basically nobody knows what it's actually called, because it's mostly lost. We move on, unless I split this into a separate episode, in which case we begin our look at a different Christmassy thing. So we are looking at Christmas, His Masque, as it was presented at court in December 1616 by one Ben Jonson. As it's a masque, we have almost none of the elements that make this piece of theatre function. I don't know if actually the music or the songs actually exist elsewhere, but I'm assuming by the fact that we haven't found any in the bit I was looking at that they don't, but I could be entirely wrong on that front. What we have are a lot of words, some description of this particular event. Obviously, we don't have the visuals either, especially if you're listening to this on the podcast. So we are absent an awful lot of stuff. So yes, reading in this session, we're going to be passing the baton around quite a bit, but Eric is going to be reading New Year, Liza will be reading Gambol on Offer, Emma will be Carol and Cupid, and Sarah will be Venus, and everyone is going to be reading the odd stage direction, because once again, I am going to put my hat on, and I will be Christmas. So it's really interesting to see how Christmassy this Christmas thing is, and how different or similar it is. I'm going to ask Sarah if you could read the initial italicized stage directions that you have there to cue me in to do some Christmassy stuff, and then we'll pause.
Enter Christmas with 2 or 3 of the guard. He is attired in round hose, long stockings, a close doublet, a high-crowned hat with a brooch, a long thin beard, a truncheon, little ruffs, white shoes, his scarves and garters tied cross, and his drum beaten before him.
Why, gentlemen, do you know what you do, huh? Would you kept me out? Christmas, old Christmas, Christmas of London and Captain Christmas? Pray you let me be brought before my Lord Chamberlain, I'll not be answered else. 'Tis merry in hall when beards wag all. I've seen the time when you had wished for me for a merry Christmas, and now you have me. They would not let me in? Oh, I must come another time. A good jest, as if I could come more than once a year. Why, I am no dangerous person, and so I told my friends. Oh, the guard, I am old Gregory Christmas still, and though I come out of Pope's Head Alley as a good Protestant as any in my parish. Oh, the truth is, I have bought a masque here, out of the city, of my own making, and do present it by a set of my sons that come out of the lanes of London, good dancing boys all. It was intended, I confess, for Courier's Hall, but because the weather has been open, and the livery were not at leisure to see it till a frost came, that they cannot work, I thought it convenient, with some little alterations, and the groom of the revels hand to it, to fit it for a higher place, which I have done. And though I say it, another manner of devise than your New Year's night. Bones are bread. Oh, the king! Son Roland, son Clem, be ready there in a trice. Quick, boys! And we'll just pause there. Lots to unpack there. That was really rather fun. I hadn't punctuation deeply unhelpful for sense, but yeah, a sense of we had this thing lined up for somewhere else for a more civic event, and but no, we brought it here. Well, that's the conceit. Who knows how much of that is true? They wouldn't let Christmas in.
Yeah, they told him to come another time.
Yeah, as if I only come once a year.
So do we think this would be like the choir master or the whoever was the master of whatever set of choir boys they were using as players? Do we think that would be a company like that?
I genuinely, my knowledge of masks is incredibly small, so I genuinely do not know how this or other masks were organised in that sense. How do we like Christmas? Seems a jolly chap. It didn't feel forced going ho ho ho.
No, he's far more. This is, I mean, he's the antecedent to Father Christmas, isn't he? Really, Gregory Christmas, Captain Christmas. He's very much in that that vein that will later go on to, that will grow into, you know, the jolly bearded figure. Well, he is a jolly bearded figure, but will grow into that figure of Father Christmas.
Yeah, and he says, although I come out of Pope's Head Alley, as good a Protestant as any in my parish. So I guess this is hitting back at those Puritans who think that Christmas is a popish thing and who want to abolish it, or who look on it with suspicion because of all the partying.
Yeah, well, Courier's Hall was actually it was the Merchant Guild of, I think, was it the leather makers? But it was the guild that was known where the Puritans met, like that. It was like a Puritan hotbed, Courier's Hall. So the fact that, you know, he tried to get into Courier's Hall and then, you know, the livery were not at leisure to see it. I think that's absolutely, yeah, that's definitely a dig at them.
Well, I don't know what at that stage Johnson's persuasion was, but he always was of the. He did vacillate a bit, but he was of the Catholic persuasion. So it's an interesting question of where the author's placed in this, and in terms of court politics as well, of which I'm very not sure of in 1616. We are very much moving ahead of where the vanguard of our practice actually lives at the moment. Yeah, so it's interesting, you know, the king, be ready there in a trice. Is he calling into the audience about the king there, or is there? I'm not sure how that's functioning. I'm interested. Other thoughts?
I assume he sees the king entering, and or at least notices that the king is in the room after he's entered.
Which basically means the boys can now come in, doesn't it? Really. You seated comfortably, sir. Excellent. We'll begin. Okay, we have lots of description basically coming up now, and we're going to go around the room. So we'll start off. Sarah, if you could continue with the stage directions until we get to the first personage.
Okay. Enter his sons and daughters, being 10 in number, led in a string by Cupid, who is attired in a flat cap and apprentice's coat, with wings at his shoulders.
So That's I'd like that. With wings, Cupid's dressed with a flat cap and Prentice's coat. I'm finding that interesting.
But he's still got wings.
Still got wings. Still got wings. It's a very strange world of Gurney Slade. Yes, sorry. The names of his children with their attires now follows. So I'll ask Eric if you could read Miss Rule, please. The description of Miss Rule. What is the best Miss Rule wearing this year?
In a velvet cap with the sprig, a short cloak, great yellow ruff like a reveller, his torchbearer bearing a rope, a cheese, and a basket.
Jeez.
A torchbearer, his torchbearer. So he's got his own torchbearer. So someone's coming in with his own personal follow spot, which I think seems important.
Sounds a lot like a fashion show. Sorry.
Well, that's not actually an unfair description of what's going on with a lot of court masks. The problem with masks is in the sense that there is no one modern analogue. They have several modern analogues in terms of contemporary performance, but there isn't a sort of thing that you can say, this is what masks are like. So yeah, there is a bit of that in there. Love that. Carol, read Carol.
A long tawny coat with a red cap and a flute at his girdle. His torchbearer carrying a songbook open.
Ah, right. So a songbook for Carol. That makes sense. Yes, that signifies Carol very well. Flute, red cap, long tawny coat. That's looking nice.
Like a little Robin.
Yeah. Sarah, if you would read minced pie. There's a minced pie entering now.
Such a great name.
Minced pie, like a fine cook's wife, dressed neat, her man carrying a pie, dish, and spoons.
Right. So, a cook's wife, cook's outfit there. And
maybe playing the spoons as they come in.
I'm sure that could be arranged. The text doesn't say that didn't happen, so I'm going to say that definitely happened. Liza, if you would read Gambol, please.
Like a tumbler with a hoop and bells. His torchbearer armed with a coal staff and a blinding cloth.
So gambling, likely. Not gambling. There.
Well, but yes, because these are all things you use in games, right?
Well, they're physical games, though, aren't they? These it's more the tumbler, like a tumbler. So we're expecting good things from your physical performance.
Dear God.
Yes, I know. For a podcast, it's a great plan. So, Eric, if you would read... actually, no, you won't, because you'll ask you read this. Emma, can I read Post and Pair?
Post and Pair. With a pair royal of aces in his hat, his garment all done over with pears and purrs, his squire carrying a box, guards, and counters.
So this seems to be much more games orientated in card games, counters for other kind of games. Done over with pears and purrs. Does anyone
I don't know what purrs are.
Anyone know what that's referring to? Post and pair. I'm not. Pair of cards, presumably. Pair royal of aces in his hat.
It was a gambling game, but I don't know what purrs are. I wonder if they were counters.
Could just be purse.
Oh, could be, yeah.
It's possible. In a lot of these games, there were different names, like the pair royal of aces, and then a pair is two of the same. Maybe a pur was three of the same? Who knows? I'm guessing.
Yes, answers. Thoughts in the comments. We are. Remember, these are first looks. We're just stumbling through these in the dark, and just noting things that amuse us. New Year's gift, Eric. You're very much our own New Year's gift, aren't you?
In a blue coat, serving manlike, with an orange and a sprig of rosemary gilt on his head, his hat full of brooches, with a collar of gingerbread, his torchbearer carrying a marchpane with a bottle of wine on either arm.
Okay,
Ooh,
I
this
can
sounds
see
like
this
fun.
costume going horribly wrong.
Yeah.
I can see a little boy just going, when he thinks nobody's looking, just nibbling away at his at his gingerbread. Yeah, all sorts of interesting. The bottle of wine on either arm as well.
Well, as far as I know, the rosemary is supposed to be like, at least in terms of like witch culture, it's supposed to be good for banishing evil. Which is why when you're making a broom as a witch, you make it out of rosemary.
Well, it's orange and a sprig of rosemary there. I'd like with an orange, which again is still very associated with Christmas to us today.
So is rosemary, since it's one of the few herbs that stays green all winter.
So these signifiers, there are things staying with us. Sarah,
Yes.
be mother. Sorry, mumming.
Mumming, in a masking pied suite, with a visor, his torchbearer carrying the box and ringing it.
Is that a pied suit, rather?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it probably is. It's
With a visor, his torchbearer carrying the box and ringing it.
So I'm thinking pied as in maybe sort of like Harlequin, half and half.
Well, that's what immediately sprang to my mind, but I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, I would say Sarah's right. It's something colorful. Maybe it's even one of those all over fringed outfits, like a May King or something. A visor or a vizard is a mask, and I'm assuming the box is a noisemaker of some kind.
Yes, and ringing it, so it's doing something. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 down, 3 more to go. Liza, Sarah. If you, Sarah, no, I've just done Sarah. Emma. I'll get the right names. I'll get them in some sort of order. Wassail.
Like a neat sempster and songster, her page bearing a brown bowl dressed with ribbons and rosemary before her.
Sempster and songster. Interesting crossover there. Her page, brown bowl dressed with ribbons and rosemary before her. More rosemary. Nice to have more rosemary. Got our job lot offer in. Any thoughts on wassail?
Is the brown bowl for the wassail cup, or is it for collecting money?
Usually when people talk about a brown bowl, it's because it's full of hot spiced ale.
Yeah, so it's the wassail cup.
Yep, I'll go with that. Okay, Liza, offering, please.
In a short gown, with a porter's staff in his hand, a withy borne before him, and a basin by his torchbearer.
Is the basin, is that full of things, or that's for the offering to be put into? Like as in when you have, like, you pass the plate around in a church?
I sort of assume, that he's collecting offerings in the basin, though who knows?
Yeah, I'm wondering whether that's the thing you do. Yeah, interesting. I genuinely don't know. There's going to be a lot of that. We have one more. Eric, Babbycock.
Dressed like a boy in fine long coat, biggin, bib, muckender, and a little dagger. His usher bearing a great cake with a bean and a peas.
And a peas. Bean and a peas.
I actually know what this is.
Please inform us.
So it's baby cake. And a baby cake, Liza knows this as well, clearly. A baby cake was a 12th night cake. And they would bake the bean, the hard-dried bean, into the cake and serve it on 12th night. And then whoever found the bean in their slice of cake then became either the king or queen of the revels for 12th night for the rest of the evening. And I think this is where the English custom of putting a sixpence in your Christmas pudding actually originates.
Yeah, and sometimes it might be called baby cake because sometimes instead of a bean, it's a little tiny porcelain infant Jesus.
Yeah,
and it says a bean and a peas, and I think they're both sort of monarchs of the party tokens. And the boy is dressed like a baby, basically, in a long coat, because, until you were breeched, that is toilet trained, you wore a long coat, so people could easily clean you up. A biggin is a little cap, a bib, to keep your self clean, and a muckender is it's a handkerchief, but I'm not sure whether on a baby's outfit it represents, instead of being a handkerchief, it might be another article of clothing. Anyway, he has
from what it sounds like, it's a cloth for a very specific use. It sounds like
it may be that. So, like, this boy is dressed as you would dress a baby.
Yeah.
So then, why does he have a little dagger? That's slightly worrying.
That's what I was wondering. I was about to ask
Be
that.
prepared,
like,
obviously.
wait.
Very early Cub Scout there. Okay, now, of course, in temporal time, in terms of performance time, all of this has happened very, very quickly, and this is just how they're dressed as they enter, and they enter singing. Sarah, we're going to go into the dialogue, but I'll ask you to do the sing. You don't have to sing, but there's the song lyrics there, and then there's a bit of a chat with Christmas and Gambol, and if you could mark the sing again, and then we'll pause before Venus enters. So let me just get my hat on while you sing.
Now God preserve, as you well do deserve, your majesties all to there. Your highness small, with my good lords all and ladies, how do you do there? Give me leave to ask, for I bring you a masque from little London, which say the king likes. I have passed the pikes. If not, old Christmas is undone.
Peace. What's the matter there?
Here's one a Friday Street would come in.
By no means, nor out of neither of the fish streets admit not a man. They are not Christmas creatures, fish and fasting days. Foh! Sons, said I well. Look to it.
Nobody out of Friday Street, nor the 2 fish streets there, do you hear?
Shall John Butter or Milk Street come in? Ask him.
Yes, he may slip in for a torchbearer, so he melt not too fast, that he will last till the masque be done.
Right, son.
Our dancer's freight is a matter of 8, and 2 the which are wenches. In all they be 10, 4 cocks to a hen, and will swim to the time like tenches. Each hath his night for to carry his light, which some would say are torches, to bring them here and to lead them there, and home again to their own porches. Now they're in 10.
And we'll just pause there. So it's an interesting question as to whether that's actually just dialogue for Christmas or whether that's the actual song lyric. I genuinely don't know. It felt right to let you sing it, sing say. Whether that last line is interrupted in that sense or whether there's something else. It's lots of questions. Bit of banter between Christmas, Gambol, and Carol there.
Yeah, it sounds like something that might actually happen backstage if there was a stage. I mean, assuming, this isn't, if this was public, obviously it would be in public. But it seems kind of like chat that would actually happen. Like, oh yeah, we'll just have the random guy for a torchbearer and he'll be fine. It's fine. We know. But it's sort of made part of the performance. I don't know if that's intentional or just like they had to write something in as an intro.
They're very street characters as well, aren't they? Gambol and Carol. I mean, it's like it's taking, you just had this ceremony of everybody coming in their finery with their torchbearers, and all of a sudden we're completely back on the London streets, which is fun.
Also, they don't like fish. They're very anti-fish.
Well, the joke is that on Friday, of course, is a fasting day, and I think a lot of Advent was spent fasting as well as Lent. So you couldn't eat meat or eggs or dairy. You had to basically just eat a lot of fish, and there were various workarounds for this, but Christmas is a time of feasting. We're not going to eat any of the foods we ate when we were fasting. So that's kind of the joke.
Yeah, so they've all come in singing, and there's obviously some sort of noise off, and so Christmas asks what's going on, and they're going, well, Friday Street would come in and say, well, we're not having Fridays in here because, we'll have all this fish. Oh, terrible. No, we're having fun here. None of that. It's budum-ching. I don't know. I'm assuming, is that following a sort of mumming thing of intruders entering and who you let into the house kind of business? Because that's sort of where we're going from the very beginning. Christmas coming in, dancers coming into this household.
Also, it's like from Little London, but then so where is this taking place? Not in London, but it is in London. So it's like, what? Yeah, is it in London, or am I just sort of in the wrong place?
Well, it's sort of the city of London as opposed to the court. I think maybe that's sort of the thing.
Do we know which palace? I mean, it says presented at court. Do we know which palace it was presented at?
That data may exist, but I do not possess it.
I'm guessing it might have been Whitehall. I mean, that's where I'm trying to remember where they all hung out. But James the First, wasn't he Whitehall?
He hung out a bunch of places. He certainly has some history at Hampton Court. But depending on where they were, the palace wherever this play was being done may not have been somewhere that everyone else would think of as being within London. Although Whitehall is within London, so who knows?
And yeah, the logic may not necessarily matter whether it's literally London or London is far away, or the internal logic of the piece will survive that, I think. Let's go on and get a little more data about what's going on in this particular entertainment. So we have the entrance of Venus, yes, who's entering she's a deaf tire woman, according to the stage direction. So this I'm sure will be hilarious bit of business that will work perfectly well today in these days, and won't come across as unfortunately ableist or anything like that. We shall see. Let's see how this goes. Anyway, it's mostly Christmas and Venus for a little while.
Now all the lords bless me, where am I trow? Where is Cupid? Serve the king? They may not serve the cobbler well enough, some of them, for any courtesy they have, I wis. They need amending. Unrude people they are, your courtiers. Here was thrust upon thrust indeed. Was it ever so hard to get in before, trow?
How now? What's the matter?
A place, forsooth. I do want a place. I would have a good place to see my child act in before the King and Queen's Majesties, God bless them, tonight.
Why, here is no place for you.
Right, forsooth, I am Cupid's mother. Cupid's own mother, forsooth. Yes, forsooth, I dwell in Pudding Lane. Aye, forsooth, he is prentice in Love Lane with a bugle maker that makes of your bobs and burr bolts for ladies.
Good Lady Venus of Pudding Lane, you must go out for all this.
Yes, forsooth, I can sit anywhere, so I may see Cupid act. Oh, he is a pretty child, though I say it that perhaps should not, you will say. I had him by my first husband. He was a smith, forsooth. We dwelt in Doolittle Lane then. He came a month before his time, and that may make him somewhat imperfect. But I was a fishmonger's daughter.
No matter for your pedigree, your house. Good Venus, will you depart?
Aye, forsooth, he'll say his part, I warrant him, as well as were a playboy of him all. I could have had money enough for him, and I would have been tempted, and have let him out by the week to the king's players. Master Burbage has been about and about with me, and so has old Master Hemmings too. They had need of him. Where is he, Troa? I would fain see him. Pray God they have not given him some drink since he came.
Are you ready, boys? Strike up. Nothing will drown this noise but a drum. A peace, yet I had not done. Feels like there's a nice queuing malfunction error there, isn't it? It's like you're saying, I'll have a song, and they start straight away. It's just, no, hang on, I've got more speech. At that point, there is a song. I'm not sure whether the next bit is a strange stage direction or what's going on here with the now their intent is above to present, or is that the first line of the song?
It's the lyric. It's the first line of the song they try to sing, but they get interrupted because something's gone wrong.
Ah, right. So they start singing that. Now their intent is above to present. And then we go into dialogue. Let's try that all together now, shall we? Mm-hmm. Now their intent is above to present.
Why, here be half of the properties forgotten, father.
Post and pair wants his purr chops and his purr dogs.
Ha' you ne'er a son at the groom porters to beg, or borrow a pair of cards, quickly?
Ah, it shall not need. Here's your son Charter without, has cards in his pocket.
Let's do that again. Let's do the singing again. Let's do all that again. Because I was enjoying it. It was beautiful. Now their intent is above to present.
Why, here be half of the properties forgotten, father.
Post and pair wants his purr chops and his purr dogs.
Ha' you ne'er a son at the groom porters to beg, or borrow a pair of cards, quickly?
It shall not need. Here's your son Crater without, has cards in his pocket.
Odd so. Speak to the guard to let him in under the name of a property.
And here's New Year's gift, has an orange and rosemary, but not a clove to stick in't.
Why, let one go to the spicery.
Oh, fie, it's naught, boys.
Why, I have cloves. If it be cloves you want, I have cloves in my purse. I never go without one in my mouth.
And mumming has not his vizard neither.
Oh, no matter. His own face shall serve for a punishment, and 'tis bad enough. Has wassail her bowl and mince pie her spoons.
Aye, but Misrule doth not like his suit. He says the players have lent him one too little on purpose to disgrace him.
Oh, let him hold his peace, and his disgrace will be the less. What, shall we proclaim where we are furnished? Mum, a piece. Be ready, good boys. And we'll pause there as they sing again. So it seems to be the gag is that they're crap. They keep stepping that nothing's ready. The boys are disorganized. I mean, the problem with that is actually to make that work, they have to be really good and get the timing of all these little things going wrong absolutely perfect, I think. Am I right on that front? I'm not missing the point on this.
It reminds me so much of you quite often in modern Christmas comedies get a scene like backstage at the Nativity where everybody's running round and no one's got their costume on and someone's throwing up in the corner and someone's spilt whatever down their front and there's various people running around, teachers or parents pulling their hair out and trying to get the kids ready. And I mean, this is so like this. It's so modern in that respect. It's hilarious.
It is the kind of thing that Jonson and others really enjoy, is doing these slightly meta things, and you get that in his plays as well.
Yeah, it's very Knight of the Burning Pestle, isn't it?
Well, it's basically every induction. It's it's like Marston as well. They both really like the fact that the play starts at some point, and you have players coming on. They don't know their lines. I don't like this script. What are we doing now? We haven't had any time to rehearse, and all that sort of business is a constant thing.
There's one fun little historical thing you can glean here, which is Venus and her cloves. And cloves were expensive, so if you were classy, you carried one to chew to freshen your breath. And they're slightly astringent, so it does work, and maybe even slightly antibacterial.
Cloves also, if you chew on them, they numb your mouth. So that adds something. Like, is she actually? I don't know. She whether that would affect her speech or, if she's got an anaesthetized tongue.
I mean, it's interesting, because she's a tire woman, so she's someone working at the tiring house. A dresser might be a way we might put it today. She's peppering everything with references to players, and acting companies as well. So it's the worst kind of lovey, staggering around backstage, isn't it?
Do we think then that this is the King's Men presenting this, or the King's Men with boys? Do we think that Burbage is Christmas and Hemmings is Venus?
I don't know. I mean, we obviously we've got to have. I think it makes sense that we've got that kind of experienced actor marshalling the boys. It does make sense, and it's also Jonson is from that world, so maybe. But it might be that he's doing a dig at them. It might not be that it's because he likes them.
Well, I was thinking, since they were the two that got name-checked, is it funnier if they're the two people on stage? Or maybe they're waiting in the wings to present a higher budget entertainment?
Yeah.
Yeah, I who knows? Who knows? Or for that matter, a lower entertainment. Right. From now on, we have quite a lot of lyrics and things, and it's going to be a matter of going. We'll do four stanzas each after the drum and fife sounds. I'll do the first chunk of Now They're Intent, and then we'll split it around. So we'll go with Emma first, then Liza, then Sarah, then Eric, and I'll sort of cue you in as we go. So I'm going to say this like it's Christmas, even though it might not be, but it sort of feels like this is plausibly still Christmas speaking, or this is a song in its own right. Now their intent is above to present with all the appurtenances a right Christmas, as of old it was, to be gathered out of the dances, which they do bring and afore the king, the queen, and prince, as it were now, drawn here by love, who over and above doth draw himself in the gear too. Hear the drum and fife sounds, and they march about once. At the second coming up, he proceeds in his song. Oh, bugger, no, actually, I think technically this is all Christmas. Oh, that's a rod for my own back I've just created there, isn't it? Happy days. Hum, drum, sauce for a coney, no more of your martial music, even for the sake of the next new steak. For there I do mean to use it. And now to ye, who in place are to see, with roll and farthingale hooped, I pray you know, though he want his bow by the wings, that this is Cupid. He might go back for to cry what you lack, but that were not so witty. His cap and coat are enough to note that he is the love of the city, and he leads on, though he now be gone, for that was only his rule. But now comes in Tom of Bosom's Inn, and he presenteth misrule, which you may know by the very show, albeit you never ask it, for there you may see what his ensigns be, the rope and cheese and the basket. This Carroll plays, and has been in his days, a chirping boy and a killpot. Kit Cobbler it is, I'm a father of his, and he dwells in the lane called Philpot. But who is this? Oh, my daughter Cis, mince pie with her, do not dally, on pain of your life. She's an honest cook's wife, and comes out of Scolding Alley. Next in the trance comes Gambol in place, and to make my tale the shorter, my son Hercules turn out of Disparf Lane, but an active man and a porter. Now post and pair, old Christmas is here, doth make and a jingling sally. And what you who is one of my two sons, card makers in Per Alley. Next in a trice, with his box and his dice, Macpippin, my son, but younger, brings mumming in, and the knave will wing, for 'tis a costermonger. But New Year's gift of himself makes shift to tell you what his name is, with orange on head and his gingerbread, Clem a wasp of Honey Lane 'tis. This, I you tell, is our jolly wassail, and for 12th night more meat too. She works by the L, and her name is Nell, and she dwells in Threadneedle Street too. Then offering he with his dish and his tree, that in every great house keepeth, is by my son young Littleworth done, and in Pennyridge Street he sleepeth. last baby cake that an end doth make of Christmas merry vena is children rollen and a straight young man, though he come out of crooked lana. There should have been a dozen, I ween, but I could find but one more, child of Christmas, and a lock it was, when I them had gone o'er. I prayed him in a time so trim that he would make one to prance it, and I myself would have been the 12th. Oh, hunt log was too heavy to dance it. Now, Cupid, come you on.
You worthy wights, king, lords, and knights, or queen, and ladies bright, Cupid invites you to the sights he shall present tonight.
Is a good child. Speak out. Hold up your head, love.
And which Cupid?
Do not shake, Sir Robin. If thou beest a cold, I have some warm waters for thee here.
Come, you put Robin Cupid out with your waters and your fistling. Will you be gone?
Ay, forsooth, he's a child you must conceive and must be used tenderly. He was never in such an assembly before, forsooth, but once at Warmall Quest, forsooth, where he said grace as prettily as any of the sheriff's hitch boys, forsooth.
Will you peace, forsooth?
And which Cupid?
Aye, that's a good boy. Speak plain, Robin. How does His Majesty like him, I pray? Will he give 8pence a day, think you? Speak out, Robin.
Nay, he is out enough. You may take him away and begin your dance. This it is to have speeches.
You wrong the child. You do wrong the infant. Appeal to His Majesty.
And here they dance, and Christmas gets to sort of close everything off. Well done, boys, my fine boys, my bully boys. I'm just going to pause there before I have to sing again. That was really quite fun, actually. Long though it was. Presenting one each in turn in their dance and the song, and yeah, it felt very, well, not quite a modern, but it felt very 19th century in my mind, actually.
Yeah.
I do love both in here and before in the props gone wrong scene. I do kind of love the aspect of Christmas as frustrated director, where Venus is interrupting the show and Christmas just kind of in the last speech just gives up. He's like, nay, he's out enough to be out, to have forgot your part. You may take him away and begin your dance, and then just turning to the audience, this it is to have speeches.
Yeah. They're just supposed to be cute kids dancing. Someone gave them dialogue. Who did that? Who did?
It kind of reminds me of the Mel Brooks's The Producers, where one of the producers turns to camera and goes, "Next time I produce a play, no author."
Well, I have to say, there is that question in my mind now as we've gone on, is that Christmas, he starts off doing all jolly things, but actually he's just having a fag at times.
Yeah. He's getting gradually more dishevelled as the evening wears on.
Yeah, I think you did Venus beautifully. "'Tis a good job. Speak up. Hold up your head, love." I love that bit. It was so, mother from the sidelines, just going, "No. Oh, you're the best. It's all right. It's all right. Do you need some water?"
Yeah, acting mother from hell.
It's interesting that both this and Night of the Burning Pestle involve stage mothers.
And really? Is there a stage mother in that as well?
She's the queen of stage mothers. Can't wait to hear you read her.
Yeah, it's really interlaced with all these sort of theatrical things and theatrical games, and it's I've really warmed to this now that we've sort of got a bit more of a handle to it. It's functioning really nicely, and
very funny.
I feel kind of sad for Cupid, who just like it's like this huge build up for this kid, and then like, "You worthy knights," and whatever, and then like, "I know which Cupid." Wait, no, I've got it, but no, I don't. I have it. No, wait, yeah, it's just, yeah.
Yeah. Cupid got 4 lines in, and then and that's why I wasn't sure whether "Now Cupid come you on" was a line or not, but it's just "Now Cupid come you on." Cupid.
He's tried. It's not coming.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have to say, this functions very, very nicely as an entertainment, and I'm really liking it. It's I'm warming more and more to this as we go. I say as we go. We've got very little left. There's very little left. So there's only the epilogue left to go. Sings again. I don't know if the epilogue is sung or whether there's just another song, and it's a question of whether there are additional songs whenever they say "sings again," or whether those lyrics are, all those lines are lyrics or not, which I'm not 100% certain of. That's a thing to look at in the future. But anyway, Christmas. Nor do you think that their legs is all the commendation of my sons, for at the artillery garden they shall, as well forsooth, use their guns, and march as fine as the Muses 9 along the streets of London, and in their brave tires to gin their false fires, especially Tom, my son. Now, if the lanes and the alleys afford such an activity as this, at Christmas next, if they keep their word, can the children of Cheapside miss? Though, put the case, when they come in place, they should not dance but hop, their very gold lace with their silk would 'em grace, having so many knights of the shop. But were I so wise, I might seem to advise so great a potentate as yourself. They should, sir, I tell ye, spare it out of their belly, and this way spend some of their pelf. Aye, and come to the court, for to make you some sport, at the least once every year. Ho ho. As Christmas hath done with his 7th or 8th son, and his couple of daughters dear. The end.
Yay!
Yes, very low-level arse-licking there at the end. Definitely, I think that's definitely addressed to the king there. Yeah, I mean, there's so much room for manoeuvre of basically the children's play that goes wrong here. It does feel like that all the way. Other thoughts?
Like how it's Christmas that basically kicks Cupid out of the just sort of goes, okay, it's fine, and sort of like tries to sort of usher Venus out of the way, but obviously that's not happening. So yeah,
He's not going anywhere.
I also just like the way that Christmas just goes, well done, my boys, my fine boys, my bully boys, and his question, how good was the dance?
Yeah.
Yes, didn't they do well? Well? Get off. I do feel sorry for Cupid. I think Cupid is actually a really lovely part, but it is, and again, has to be done really well, doing really badly. I think that's what's really interesting about that. It's just, the terror that hits poor Cupid.
Yeah, little rabbit in the headlight.
Yeah. He only had one more line, something like that.
No, couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. Yeah. So I see. Yes. They've got that. So, final thoughts then on Christmas's Masque, Sarah.
Well, I just want to say thank you for doing this, because it's like it's such good fun. I think it would work so well for a modern audience. I mean, people love getting dressed up at Christmas anyway, but you could go to absolute town with the costumes. I mean, like we were saying, the nativity behind the scenes gag is one that everybody kind of knows and relates to anyway. So it's very, very accessible. And if you put in all the songs and all the dances, wow, I think this would just be a brilliant show and really, really popular. So I definitely feel a Beyond Shakespeare Christmas show medley coming on with this as the finale in future years. I would hope to see.
I was going to say, we haven't really engaged with masks at all. That's why this is in a sense so unprepared. Sarah suggested this the other week. I went, yeah, all right. I'm very aware of the lack of depth of knowledge that I have. We institutionally have on masks. But yes, the idea of putting this at the end of a piece. Or an end of an evening, a Christmas entertainment, which might be all sorts of different random things. We've had lots of suggestions of what our Christmas shows might be like. But yeah, this does feel like, and it feels like the perennial thing. We do this every year.
Yeah.
Because it's great.
And people would come back year after year just to see this.
Yeah. And yeah, having this kind of thing to pull out of your pocket is very useful. In my storytelling practice, I've got one or two, surefire, short, guaranteed, hitters. I mean, that said, it's quite a complicated thing to get right. So it's but in a sense, it wants to be extravagant, but it needs to be crap extravagant. I mean, it's like as much tinsel as you can get on stage. I mean, I'd hate to have to flambar all of it, but I can just see that coming along. I just see lots of tinsel and stuff, and just so much fun. Liza, final thoughts?
Well, just as we know, Ben Jonson has vinegar for blood. If he can sneer at a thing, he absolutely does. And when you get paid to write a Christmas pageant, there's only so much sneering that you can do. And I think he does sneer the maximum that he can. But it's interesting seeing Jonson being forced to be wholesome and jolly for once in his life. I do think there are going to be a lot of in-jokes there that we're missing, especially in that last poem of Christmases. I think the artillery garden may have been. There was definitely an artillery range. There were several, but there was definitely one over near Liverpool Street and Bishopsgate. Was there a playhouse there? We know the curtain was near there. Was the curtain still in operation at this point? It would be really interesting to map this onto what we know of London at the time. I know a couple of archaeologists who would absolutely go to town on it, and maybe they already have. Maybe I just haven't read it. There are going to be a lot of in-jokes here that we're missing, but it would be fun to discover them.
Yeah, it's a weird martial bent that we get in that final speech about use their guns and march is fine. I'm just there's something there is something, but I think you're right. We need to actually find some actual data rather than just revel in the fun. Yeah,
I mean, Knights of the Shop might be a reference to. Apparently, because James was so skint, he would knight you if you gave him enough money. So he was and there was a joke about that in either Westward Ho or Eastward Ho that actually got the play taken off the stage, where someone says, "Oh, a Scottish character says, 'Oh, I know him. He's ane of my 30-pound knights,'" and yeah,
that went well.
Anyway, that little line might have been a reference to that, and Jonson was one of the three known authors of that play. So,
Emma, final thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I love how just self-consciously theatrical it is. It's all about putting on a play and the various things that can go wrong. And I love the characters of Venus and Cupid. It reminded me a little bit of like a modern day pantomime dame and her silly son. Pantomime dame being a working woman, very chatty, very pushy, and the son being a little bit silly. So I kind of linked it a little bit to what I think of as Christmas tradition as well. But yeah, it's just bursting with just colour and costume and food, and I think it'd be so much fun to get stuck in and have a go at.
Especially as I say, of the two Christmassy things that we've looked at that are not, biblical, this is the one that it feels like Christmas. And I don't know of that many theatrical texts that really address Christmas in this way. in a way that there may be more that will come out the woodwork further on in our work, but this at the moment is the one. This is it at present. So addressing that would be good. Eric, final thoughts?
Yeah, it was interesting to see that difference, like the sort of morality play versus, well, sort of morality play, end of morality play versus the sort of Masque, which seems to be like anything goes. And I like this idea that you would just plant the mother, well, aka Venus, in the audience, or like sort of arriving late and sort of Father Christmas or just Christmas having to tell her off in public in front of the whole like audience, and she's like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm here, I'm just like the sort of loud mother. It's just fun.
Yeah. And again, as we get further into our work and get closer to 1616, I mean, let's we're still good 20 years early. The spearhead of our work is still 20 years in the past, at least, from this date. So the closer we get to it, the more we engage with court culture again, as opposed to other cultures that we've been playing around with. We may get more and more answers. At the moment, I'm thinking this is definitely adaptable for the modern stage, because there's so much life to it, it works incredibly well. Any absolute last final thoughts from anyone that anyone wants to throw in? No, we're good. Well, in that case, I'm just going to very briefly put my Santa's hat back on. There we go. And just say, Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everyone at home.
Merry Christmas.